Hello, my good students. I'm going to do this one last lecture with another control structure, which is in this case we are using a for statement. And again, in the interest of time, I brought in the program, and as you can see here, I have an issue here, which is basically complaining about the scanner not being in. So let's import the scanner. And it imported in the wrong place. I'm going to cut this one and put it over here, so that should take care of it. Now, this is a program where we are trying to add sales value for 7 days. And again, I'm trying to keep it somewhat simple, but still keep it interactive. So it is up to the user to determine how to go about adding the cells, how many days, and of course you can continue adding more complicated requirements for it. I mean, if this is the sales, you can even do it for an entire month. You can do it bi-weekly, and you can have nested for loops and things like that. But for the interest of time, again, I'm going to keep things simple. And again, I'm going to use the perspective. So at this point, I just wanted to show you that under my control structure loops, I did have these three programs. I had the first one as thermostat. I'm sorry, the first one was the control structure, which is very general, a for, do, while, and then I had an kind of scenario design for the thermostat, and again a scenario design for the adding sales part of it. Again, I'm going to do the same thing just like I did last time. I'm going to put a breaker over here. So I'm going to change my perspective. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a breakpoint here, and I'm going to change into a debug mode. As soon as I change it to a debug mode, you're going to see a perspective open up. So as soon as I do this, this is the perspective that opened up. And at this point, as you can see, you have the string argument. So at this point, it generated an ID. Keyboard is a scanner object, and again, it's a generated ID by the Eclipse editor. And then the program is stopped over here. So if I want to, if I do want to break it, I can just go to resume, and then it's just going to go through the whole thing. I can stop it. I can terminate my perspective mode, basically the default mode, and then go back and run it. But in this case, I want to show the debug mode. So I've already chosen debug. So at this point, if I use a step over, for how many days do you like to have your sales account? So remember, the program is stopped over here, and I'm using this step over, to show it. Now, I can also, if I have methods which we're going to use, I can get into step into, which means if there's a method call over here, I can get directly into the method call. But for right now, I'm going to go one line at a time. So by step over, it says how many days do you want to include, and let's say I want to do it for 5 days, and I'm going to come back and do a step over, enter. So now I have a step over at this point. So I go to the next one. So as you can see, my day has a value of 5. My total sales at the beginning, again, this is stopped over here. My total sales has a value of 0. So now I'm going to go inside, and the count is 1. Remember, the count is my counter. So now I'm going to do a step over, and it says enter the sales for day 1. Look at the little trick that they use over here to bring in this count for their day. So it says enter the sales for day plus count. At this point, this is 1. That's why that 1 is coming in. It's not the enter the sales for the day only, but I'm adding the count. So at this point, if I say 45, and remember this is a double value, 0.67, and I hit enter. Okay, and I do a step over. At this point, my count is 1, my sales is 45.67. I'm going to do another step over, so it goes back. You see how it went back over here, and enter for day 2. See how this thing is moving. It's executed this line. It came to this line. After I do a step over, it's going to add it and then go back to the for loop because it's not out of the for loop yet. So the count now is 2, okay? And then I have to input the value 87.25, and I hit enter, and then again I do a step over. And now as soon as I do this, it's going to add up my look at my total sales right there for 45.67. Now my sales is now 87.25, and I'm going to go back to my for loop again. My counter is now going to be 3. See, my counter changed to 3. My total sales changed as well. And if I do a step over again for the number 3, and I say 128.58, and then hit enter, step over. So now my sales value right over here is 128.58. My counter is 3. My total was from my last count. So if I do a step over again, so now you see my total sales have changed, but I'm stuck in this next line. I have to go. My counter now becomes 4. See how this for loop is working, starting with 1, count less than days. So at this point, my days is 4. I defined my count as 1, so it has to go through this loop. So I'm doing another step over for day 4, 47.59, and then hit enter. And now I'm going to do step over again. So at this point, you see how my sales is at the last sales value is 47.59, but my total sales is over here, so it has to go back to the for loop again. So now you see that total sales have changed now, and now it's done for this. It's 5, and it wants say, let's say 187.66, enter, and then sales at value at this point. It's changed the entire thing. So now I'm out of my for loop, and then I'm going to go to my outside the loop. So this is what it's showing you. So now I'm outside, and if I do a step over, so my total sales is 496.75. So again, the whole point for this is to show you how you can write your control loops in different ways. Do while, for. Again, it would all depend upon the requirement of the program. And also, by using the debug perspective, you can follow along the code very, very nicely. And then, once you're done, I think it helps you understand the program much better, and you can always come back and add more codes to this. So hopefully with these examples, you now have a good understanding of how to use some of these control structures, namely whiles, do whiles, and for.